The shockwaves came fast and hard the moment the news broke. Shadur Sanders, son of Deion Sanders and one of the most talked about young quarterbacks in football, had turned down an offer from the Baltimore Ravens. A chance to sit behind Lamar Jackson, a reigning MVP, a superstar known not just for his skill set but for his resilience, was right there for the taking. Instead, Shadur said no. He chose Cleveland, where the road to a starting job might be clearer, but the path to greatness is far less certain. That single decision ignited a storm of debate across the NFL world. The reasoning Shadur gave was direct. He didn't want to spend years holding a clipboard behind Jackson. He wanted opportunity, a chance to prove himself sooner rather than later. It was the kind of bold confidence you expect from someone raised in the spotlight, guided by one of the most charismatic figures in football. Yet for every fan who admired the guts of that choice, there were critics who saw it as nothing short of reckless arrogance. Jason Whitlock didn't mince words. He called Shadur brain-dead, badly mentored, and ego-driven. To Whitlock, the move wasn't ambition. It was hubris, a young quarterback convinced he deserved more before proving he could handle less, and that's where the split in opinion came to life. Some analysts pointed to history, reminding fans of quarterbacks who started their careers waiting, learning, and absorbing wisdom before finally seizing their moment. Tom Brady, drafted in the 6th round, started his journey sitting behind Drew Bledsoe, a $100 million quarterback at the time. Nobody imagined that arrangement would produce the greatest player the game has ever seen. Emmanuel Acho hammered that comparison, saying opportunities like Baltimore don't come around often, and to reject one might haunt Shedeur for years to come. For Acho, the Ravens represented more than a roster spot. They were a winning culture, a chance to study not just Lamar Jackson's mechanics, but how he navigated the pressures of being a superstar. But others weren't ready to crucify Sanders for the move. Stephen A. Smith, known for his firebrand takes, actually came to Shedeur's defense. He argued that while Baltimore might look ideal on paper, the reality of sitting behind Lamar Jackson made the situation untenable for a player of Sanders' caliber. Lamar is durable, dynamic, and nowhere near being replaced. How many chances, realistically, would Shadur get to step on the field in the next few years? None, Stephen A. insisted. Why should a quarterback who completed over 72% of his passes at Colorado, who once projected as a top 2 or top 3 draft pick, sit in the shadows waiting for an injury that might never come? Stephen A. flipped the script. To him, Shadur wasn't being arrogant. He was being strategic. He was looking for a team where he could grow by playing, not by waiting. Cleveland, Buffalo, even Cincinnati, all places where quarterback depth was shaky, where injuries loomed, where opportunity could appear in a heartbeat. Joe Burrow's constant health struggles made Cincinnati a legitimate landing spot. The Browns, with Dylan Gabriel and Joe Flacco in the mix, presented hurdles, but not ones that Stephen A. thought were impossible to clear. For a competitor like Shedeur, every week on the bench behind Lamar Jackson would be wasted potential. Cam Newton, though, wasn't buying it. He tore into Stephen A.'s defense with the same conviction that made him one of the most electrifying quarterbacks of his generation. Cam argued that this wasn't about playing time. This was about growth, about positioning yourself in an environment where greatness rubs off on you whether you take a snap or not. Lamar Jackson, he said, wasn't just a quarterback. He was a case study in how to lead, how to handle fame, how to carry an entire franchise's expectations. Those aren't lessons you get in Cleveland. Those are lessons only Baltimore could offer. Newton stressed that the chance to watch Lamar up close, to learn the ins and outs of being a superstar beyond the field, was priceless. You don't pass on that. Not if you're serious about becoming elite. That argument rang especially true when people looked at the Browns' depth chart. Shadur isn't stepping into an immediate starting role. He's sitting third behind Gabriel and Flacco. Cam Newton was quick to point out the contradiction. If the whole point was to avoid sitting, how does joining Cleveland solve that? In Baltimore, at least you learn under a generational talent. In Cleveland, you're waiting just the same, but without the benefit of being in a proven winning system. To Cam, the math didn't add up. Baltimore wasn't a punishment. It was a once-in-a-lifetime apprenticeship, and so the NFL world split. On one side, analysts like Whitlock and Acho blasting Sanders for letting his ego steer him away from Baltimore's gold-plated opportunity. On the other, voices like Stephen A. insisting that ambition and self-belief are exactly what quarterbacks need to succeed. Both sides made compelling cases, and both carried the weight of history. Brady's story stood as proof that patience could turn into destiny, but Dak Prescott, thrown into the fire as a fourth-round pick behind Tony Romo, became a franchise cornerstone by seizing the moment when it arrived. You never know when your number is going to be called. That's the NFL Shadur Sanders is betting on himself. That's the bottom line. To him, waiting behind Lamar Jackson was a guarantee of stagnation. Playing in Cleveland, even buried on the depth chart, at least offers a chance that circumstances might crack open sooner rather than later. An injury, a slump, a coach desperate for a spark, it's those unpredictable breaks that can launch a career. He believes he's too talented to wait quietly in someone else's shadow. He wants to make his own, but this decision will follow him. If Sanders thrives in Cleveland, if he climbs that depth chart and proves himself, then his gamble will look like foresight, the bold move of a quarterback who refused to settle. But if he flounders, if the Browns bury him, if he watches Lamar Jackson continue to dominate from afar, the critics will return louder than ever, pointing back to this moment as the one that cost him greatness. For now, it's a story without an ending. The Ravens move forward with their superstar, and Cleveland takes a chance on a young man determined to write his own destiny. Whether Shedur's choice was wisdom or foolish pride remains to be seen. But one thing is certain. He has forced the league, the media, and the fans to talk about him. In a world where attention is currency, maybe that's the first victory. What do you think? Did Shadur Sanders make the right call in choosing Cleveland over Baltimore? Or did he throw away a priceless chance to learn from Lamar Jackson and grow under one of the NFL's most respected organizations? Was this ambition at its finest or ego at its worst? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss the debates shaking up the sports world.